everyone! This was sent to me by one of my viewers. So, yeah, I don't know why anyone's suing Minecraft or what could be the reasoning.
Hello.
Yeah, and there's Chrono down there and there's Rain.
Hello.
I'm not sure why they're suing Minecraft.
I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, probably will. But, yeah, I just wonder what Minecraft could have done to be sued for some reason. That's mostly, my idea at the very least. But on that note, hello future me, oh my god. But if you guys want to keep supporting us and help us find out what we need, well, there's several ways to. Just keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing, I don't know. What do you guys say?
Keep liking and subscribing.
Yeah, what he said. Anyway, we're going to look into this. I don't know what to expect or what reason someone could have for suing the company behind Minecraft, but we're about to find out. Okay, I'm an idiot. Alright.
This is Minecraft, the game that screwed its community so hard that we're about to sue them in a class action lawsuit. You see, in December of 2024, I uploaded this video in which I exposed Mojang, the creators of Minecraft, for breaking consumer protection laws and exposing children to gambling. And while I tried to seek justice for myself, I wasn't able to do so because my government is kind of incompetent, making access to justice basically impossible if you're not rich as fuck. So I tried adding a GoFundMe campaign at the end to finance a class action lawsuit because this wasn't something that...
Wait, in what way were they supporting gambling? I don't remember gambling being ever a part of Minecraft as far back as when I played it. Don't get me wrong, I didn't play it much. But I do not remember gambling ever being a part.
The only thing I could think of is, like, some servers that support
mods?
gambling.
I mean, mods don't really feel like the original creator's fault, though. That's the main thing, they're mods. Mods and servers?
And obviously there's no way that would actually work, right?
YouTube and Kia Brose
suing Mojang. They publicly funded
already nearly on 1 million views.
On trending.
It's
exceeded
its funding.
Already passed for $120,000.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Dang, that's got to be one of the fastest growing crowdfunding campaigns.
We raised $150,000 within days. Oh, it's fucking happening. Where we now have access to legal representation and can proceed with the class action lawsuit.
Yes,
my name is Björn Persson. I'm a member of the Swedish Bar Association. I run a law firm together with my colleague Conny Larsson. And we're working with this lawsuit since it's part of our practice and are looking to run this lawsuit as a class action against Mojang because we think it's an important issue that needs to be addressed.
To give you a little recap, Minecraft is one of those games that anyone can modify to add things that it didn't originally have. And what I wanted to do was add guns to the game to recreate an old game mode that I used to play as a child that had unfortunately been shut down. But right as it was about to release, Mojang said that a recent directive from Mojang leadership determined that guns and weapons are considered non-compliant features, meaning that they had to be completely removed, implying the shutdown of dozens of projects, including mine.
I hate that. That's dumb.
Yeah.
That, like, the NFT thing when Mojang was doing was pretty good, where they got rid of saying, no, we're not allowing NFTs at all. But this... no. This is just dumb. I mean, it's their game. Like I said, if I ever finish the game I'm trying to do stuff with, mod how you want it, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, you bought the game, it's yours now. Have fun with it. That's my only requirement.
Yeah.
When actually looking into it, even though they said that guns and weapons were specifically prohibited by the game's legal agreements, when actually looking for these specific prohibitions, you'd come to find that they didn't actually exist. So Mojang was making shit up and pretending it was part of the terms of service, a type of contract, which, as you've guessed, is kind of illegal.
A contract is an agreement between two parties, and both parties need to agree what the meaning of the contract is. You can't be forced into new rules that apply to your contract unless you've been notified, as well as having a choice whether to actually accept those terms or just be able to keep using what you already have.
And since this is a hidden clause where guns are just one of the many examples that exist, Mojang can do whatever they want, like applying a different version of the same clause where you never know which one you're gonna get, changing their...
Hello, Fable.
Hello.
I need to make you guys a little bigger.
their minds at any time, like they did with the guns 3 times, and even go against their own rules.
Oh my god.
Like allowing gambling even though they publicly pretend like it's forbidden. But obviously, shit gets worse, because when a company changes its terms of service, it's required to notify its users about the changes and get their agreement for it. And out of the 47 times they changed their legal agreements, they never told anyone about it. We know this because I went through thousands of archived pages for every single legal agreement that the game has ever had to see if a single word had changed. And Mojang not notifying anyone of changes makes perfect sense.
Yeah, where they're suing Minecraft.
Yeah, because someone told me they're being sus, and I'm like, what do you mean? They only replied to me this morning, and I'm like, oh, thanks, my dude, for telling me at like 2 a.m. while I'm trying to sleep.
Basically what happened apparently is they were trying to add stuff to the game, you know, mod it, whatnot, add guns, and make their own little game. And Mojang, right when it was almost being done, said no, but they looked into it, and that wasn't part of the terms of service, so they're suing them.
Oh, jeez.
Because, you know, you can't just suddenly say, yeah, we're not allowing this anymore when it's not part of the terms of service.
Right.
Their own words.
It is up to you to check back to see if these guidelines have changed.
So that it's not their responsibility to tell you.
There's a lot of things that you really can't do with the contract and have it enforceable against the consumers. You have this legislation under European consumer law that mandates that the company that changes the terms need to inform the consumers about this. And they can't enforce the new changes without giving the consumers a choice.
And if not telling anyone wasn't already bad enough,
they removed the notice when the software terms were updated. This is obviously making it harder for the consumers to exercise their rights.
Because not only is it our responsibility to check when changes happen, but they also make it borderline impossible to tell when they actually did. Which is quite ironic, coming from the company that says, "We are trying to be open, honest, and most importantly, trusting." But of course, it only gets worse. Remember how the original email from Mojang said that guns were specifically prohibited by these 3 legal agreements, where one of them didn't even exist? This is something I even pointed out in the last video. By the Mojang brand guidelines that literally do not exist, well, it turns out that they do exist as its own hidden internal document under strict NDA that does contain the prohibitions for guns. The very same document where Mojang internally recognizes loot boxes as gambling. And what pisses me off even more than them trying to apply a contract that was literally impossible to access without whistleblowers was that while they left us on hold for 6 months because their CEO was on vacation, they officially partnered with Nerf, the gun company.
That's why they didn't allow it. Because they were doing a partnership. Sneaky, sneaky.
These guidelines say that gun-like toys are forbidden. Fucking hypocrites. But as you probably guessed it only gets worse. You see, when buying Minecraft, you create a Mojang account that is then used to play the game. At least, that's how it used to be. Because Mojang was bought by Microsoft in 2014, where just a few years later, Mojang would announce that we've decided that moving forward, all of our games will require a Microsoft account to play. And if you didn't want to migrate your account, you won't be able to log in anymore, which means you won't be able to play either. In other words, either migrate your account and give Microsoft all of your data, or they take away what you paid for. And this is what you call a threat. But not only did they threaten everyone, they also sneakily modified their terms of service to give themselves permission to cancel your account if they simply felt like it. And you see, when purchasing a game like Minecraft, that essentially means that you purchase a license to download and play the game, where the conditions of that license are within the terms of service. This is important because if a company wanted to change the way a service works, by for example changing their terms of service, that new version would only apply to the new users or the ones that explicitly agreed to the changes. In simple terms, if the contract used to say that you will be able to play the game, if the company doesn't like that anymore, they can't take it away from you, because that would be called breach of contract, which is kind of illegal. And what happened here was that Mojang was forcing everyone to migrate, saying things like, you will not be able to access the game, migration is mandatory, won't be able to play Minecraft, must be migrated to a Microsoft.
Players need to move to a Microsoft
Mojang accounts to Microsoft accounts.
Where, funnily enough, they had the balls to say that this was voluntary 3 times. So voluntary, in fact, that
it's not voluntary if you force it on anyone. You can't say anything is voluntary if you force it on someone. Quite literally. If you say must, then it's not voluntary.
Didn't do it, they took away what you paid for.
This was a forced migration.
We our own accounts, but then they forced us to Microsoft. I remember that.
Yeah, that's also illegal. Yeah.
Obviously didn't have much of a choice. The only choice you had was to terminate your account.
And not only were they forcing...
What'd you say, Fable?
I think a lot of people actually lost their original accounts and had to buy a new one because of that stupid
God.
merger.
I hate that. We must go into the shoebox. Look, people are volunteering to go into the shoebox. Yeah, that's exactly it. You can't suddenly say it. That's quite literally not.
Asking everyone to give their data to a company with a world record of privacy violations, which got recently fined $20 million by the FTC for illegally collecting information on children. Most Minecraft players are children, but in doing so, they also forced you to agree to Microsoft and Xbox's legal agreements, all under the threat of them taking away what you paid for if you didn't do what they wanted.
A contract needs to be entered into freely, and that obviously means that you need to have a choice between
Yeah, Nintendo's trying some of it now. And they're probably gonna get sued for it.
God, I hope so, but the thing is, Nintendo will do anything, and I mean anything in their power to stay within a law that fits them. That's the problem.
Yeah. The problem is Nintendo is an international company, which, you know.
They have to abide by international laws.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're also, I think they're willing to be like, well, I mean, if that's the case, then, well, we're willing to suffer for it. I mean, if we win, we win. It's really stupid.
Nintendo does some really stupid stuff, yes.
Yeah, because like the lawsuit with Palworld, it's really stupid because they're like, well, I mean, we're not going to win, so we're going to try to patent something that shouldn't be patented by anyone. It's really stupid, man.
Yeah, so
like so many companies could sue them because of that.
Yeah. You can't just suddenly patent something in the middle of a lawsuit.
Right, especially something that's been used by multiple games throughout the generations by multiple different companies.
Which opens them up to more lawsuits.
Right, which is incredibly stupid. It's just like, oh, no, you're not winning this. Companies a lot bigger and smaller than you can sue you because you're trying to patent something that shouldn't be patented. That is, you didn't develop it. You didn't develop the system. It's been here before you, and it'll probably be here long after you.
Yeah. Hello, King of Fat. How have you been? It's very stupid, Fable.
Agreeing. Just presenting one choice is not really an agreement.
But even though it was illegal, Mojang still went ahead with it, which resulted in millions of people losing access to what they paid for, some of which were never even notified that it was happening to begin with, only finding out years later that their purchase had been nullified. But when actually contacting Mojang to complain, you'd come to find that they wouldn't answer questions and automatically close most tickets asking for answers. And when asking Microsoft about it, they would say that, "I've discussed your issue with Mojang support and came to the conclusion that the migration is within the Minecraft terms and conditions." Which is not. In other words, we've investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong. But unfortunately for them, this user knows his rights. And when asking Microsoft to cite his contract for where it says that a Microsoft account is required to play, Microsoft said, "End user license agreements are constantly updated. Please refer to the current one." Where the current one says, "If you originally signed up for a Mojang account, you must migrate to a Microsoft account in order to keep using the services." But this wasn't part of the contract when the user had bought the game. To which Microsoft replied, "I understand that this is your interpretation, but this interpretation user regardless of the date of creation." Further stating that your contract is the new EULA. The old one doesn't apply anymore. You agreed to this by using the service. Where they then immediately closed the ticket, refusing to answer any further questions. And this is a perfect example of fucking up in writing, because it confirms the idea that
it is up to you to check back to see if these guidelines have changed.
And that they don't care about agreements since they claim that you agreed to changes that they didn't even tell you about. So Mojang voided everyone's contract since they say that they don't apply anymore. And you fucking guessed it, this is breach of contract. And if that wasn't bad enough, when actually looking at the historical changes to the contract, there used to be a clause that says that you will be able to play the game even if you don't agree to the new changes. All of which were, of course, sneakily removed during the migration.
I would say that this forceful way of migrating the customers is not a term that is enforceable by Microsoft, which in this case would mean that they would be forced to reinstate the old accounts.
And all of this is essentially what the class action lawsuit is about. Minecraft's success is entirely due to the community making it what it is, for example mods and servers, because the base game in itself isn't really that interesting. And when the very things that we depend on to actually enjoy the game are being threatened by a company that ignores our rights like this, we as consumers end up being affected because Mojang is restricting the way—
a year ago and they decided to change it without it. I'm liable to this nonsense. Well, you could sue them because that's breach of contract.
Oh yeah.
We were able to play
because you can't just change a contract saying I have altered the deal. It doesn't actually work like that.
The game, on top of them literally taking the game away under threat simply because they knew that nobody would be fighting back. But there's a limit to the amount.
Yeah. Alright.
of shit that people are willing to take before taking measures. And Mojang, you fucking crossed it. Because we're not begging or asking for mercy anymore. This is a class action lawsuit that you cannot ignore.
I think this is an important case for this reason that this is becoming a general business practice right now. And it's not supposed to be like that when you're dealing with consumers, especially children. We're seeing a lot of companies coming out with this claim that you don't get the full terms of service or for their product when you buy it. The company you're buying from refer you to their contractual terms on a website, which can change at any time, basically depriving you all your consumer rights.
Learn about
this
later,
is not
King
right.
of Fat.
This is something we really need to act upon and make sure that we can exercise our consumer rights.
And our objectives are quite simple. Revert the account migration, meaning the reinstatement of all unmigrated accounts where Mojang in the EU has to be the owner of all customer data, comply with contract and consumer protection laws, so notify about the changes, get agreement for the changes without threatening a consequence for disagreement, remove unenforceable clauses, including hidden clauses like the one that allows gambling, clearly indicate when changes happen, and comply with the terms of our old contracts.
I think these goals are both reasonable and achievable, and saying that is coming from looking at what this case is all about, which is a big corporation abusing consumer rights, and doing so without anybody responding to it would be wrong.
But as you might have expected, the legal system is kind of complicated, because if we take these two examples, even though the core of the issue is the same, our contract, there's a difference in who was affected by them.
Basically, you need to have the same kind of damage and the same kind of circumstances for everybody that goes into the class action.
So they would each have a different way of approaching it legally, some being easier to pursue than others. Which is why the account migration is such a great option, because you paid for something which they then took from you under threat, all of which is very easily quantifiable damages, which basically affected everyone for 2023, including those who did migrate because it was done under threat. And since the account migration is tied to our contracts just like everything else, we can then use it to resolve most issues with a single process.
We need to decide on how we formulate this claim. What is the damage that's been done, and how are we going to prove that? And actually the evidence is going to decide for us how we're going to do this.
And that is the reason for this video, because we are now at the stage where we need you, the Minecraft.
Yeah, it's very important to get this through so companies learn that they have consequences for this. Because if this gets through and they lose, then more companies are going to have to stop doing this.
To say that you want to participate in the class action lawsuit and tell us how you were affected so that we can then identify and form the group that will participate. And the more submissions we get, the more likely we are to...
From what I remember, I think they were one of the world's worst about doing stuff like that.
Microsoft?
No, Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, yes. They are incredibly bad at doing that.
Yeah.
Like, one of those changes which was illegal, where they changed their contract to say that you have to destroy any copies that, you bought if they say that they're ending support for the game, which is illegal.
Yeah,
it is incredible, but
But they want to keep their money, and they desperately want more money.
Yeah. It's incredibly illegal to do that. Because you bought the game, it's yours. Why should you have to destroy it because they ended support for that certain game?
It's because they're trying really, really hard to do the whole, well, even though you bought it, you don't own it. We do. So it's basically you're renting it from it. It's so stupid.
Yeah, that's very stupid. And that's the same thing that Nintendo's trying to do, too. Where
no one trusts Microsoft anymore. Yeah, no one trusts Microsoft.
Bought the game, yeah, even though you bought the game, it's still Nintendo's game or the system, so they can do whatever they want to it. Which is no, you can't, because the consumer bought it, so it's theirs to own. The system itself is theirs to own. Not dependent for the system, not the rights to the system, like like. They can't go out and create a whole new Nintendo Switch 2 out of their backyard and say, "Hey, this is mine."
Yeah.
They can't do that.
But they still have rights to own the thing that they
achieve
made
what we
and
set
mess
out
with
to
it
do,
the way
and
they
show
want.
Mojang that they don't get to do whatever the fuck they want.
Obviously, it's always decided on the evidence and how well we can present that to a court and make them understand what's actually at stake here, which is the consumer's right to actually resist being abused by a big company.
Where the first thing I want to say is thank you, because it's thanks to those donations that we now actually have a chance to fight back in a way that's never really been done before. And if we win, Mojang will also have to pay back our legal costs, which also, unfortunately,
with cords on it.
Yeah.
Goes the other way, meaning that I would
Hello,
essentially
Lynx
go
Bros.
bankrupt if we were to lose, which is always a possibility. But I don't want to live with the regret of not trying simply because I was too afraid of losing. So bring it on, Mojang. I'll see you in court.
Well then, if you want to support him, you know what to do. Like,
Yep.
I'm going to leave this right here for a few seconds so you can look over it, and if you want to check it out, you can help him if you want.
Yep.
But yeah.
You could probably leave the links in your description below too.
Maybe, but we could have just have a look over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to support them, what they're doing, I fully support what they're trying to do. I do hope they do it. And my dog just came in here, even though she's not allowed in here.
My cat just tried to attack my hands just now.
Well then, but yeah. Never get old. See you in court. Yeah. Oh, you said cute instead of court, but anyway. Anyway. What I'm gonna say is, I do hope they win. I do hope that Mojo is forced to comply. And yeah. If you guys want to support us in any way, well, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.